Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Lizzie and you're watching Hive Knits and Natters. Today I've got kind of a chatty podcast style video for you, but we don't need to give things a label. It's certainly been a while since my last video. It's been about a month since I filmed my Everything I Knit in 2024 video, but it's been longer than that since I've kind of chatted through what I'm currently working on and what I've recently finished. So that's what we're gonna do today. So if you're new here, hello. If you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for sticking with me and coming back and watching this new video. I am now officially on maternity leave from work, which is really, really exciting. So I will just say at this point that I am pregnant and there will be a fair few baby focused pieces discussed in this video. So if that's not for you or you're going to find that difficult, then completely understand, and this is your kind of trigger warning, I suppose. So yeah, I totally understand if that's not for everybody. However, for those who don't mind me talking about that kind of thing, it's all getting very exciting around here. I'm not going to share my exact due date, but our baby boy is due in early September. So it's now late August. So yeah, we really don't have long to go. And we're pretty bumpy around here. Yeah, we're feeling pretty large. Actually doing, I was going to say surprisingly well then, but maybe that's not the right word. Feeling absolutely fine. Have just been kind of trying to get things organised and rest and kind of find a balance between the two of those things. But I haven't felt like filming in the last few weeks. Finishing work was extremely busy, and then we went away and did like a lot of sort of one last hurrah type things, which was lovely but really exhausting. So I needed a couple of weeks to just get over that. And now I'm feeling good and thought, do you know what? I'm going to film a video because I've actually worked on quite a lot of things since we last spoke, particularly since I last updated you on what I've been making and finishing. So I'm going to share with you some pieces that I have knit and finished since we last caught up, and then I'm going to show you things that I'm working on, and then I'm also going to show you instead of sort of yarny acquisitions, I mean there have been plenty of those because I have discovered secondhand yarn on Vinted. I mean, I say secondhand, like people stash busting on Vinted, and yeah, there's been quite a lot of purchased, which I've justified because it's, you know, helping somebody else out and is often quite a lot cheaper than buying kind of like new commercial yarn. However, I'm not going to show you all of that today because, like I said, there is quite a lot, and maybe I'll do a separate video on it. But I have some acquisitions that are just the most special because they're things that other people have knit for our baby, which is absolutely amazing. So not only am I going to show you things that I've made for baby and for me, but also things that other people have made for baby. So yeah, I've been really excited to share them with you. So if that sounds like your jam, then let's get cracking. So I'm also joined by a fairy friend today. I don't know if you can see him. That's Hugo there. So if you hear any purring or meowing, then it's not me, it's him. Is that the right angle? Sure. I'm also hopefully comfy like this. I'm kind of tripoded on the edge of our bed, but yeah, if I need to move around or shift positions or look a bit fidgety, then it's because we've got like 3.2 kilos attached to the front of us, so that's why. Right, where do I even start? I'll show you the finished object that is for me. You will recognise this because I have shown it / them as a kind of half finished object before, but I've now finished my first proper pair of socks, and I say proper because I had a bit of a failed attempt at knitting socks in the past, but now we have a matching pair and it's so exciting. So these are they. How excellent are these? I'm a sock knitter now. I've said that before. My husband actually hilariously says to me that I'm not a sock knitter because I've only knit one pair of socks, which I think is rude and accurate in equal measures. And he decided, apparently, that to be a sock knitter you have to knit 16 pairs of socks. I don't know where he's got that from, but he told me that's what I need to achieve. So, depending on what you subscribe to, I either am or I'm not a sock knitter, but I'm very, very happy to have these done. So to recap, you will have seen these before if you've watched any of my other videos, but these are the, oh, I never know if it's Not So Basic or I'm So Basic. So Basic socks by Summer Lee, and this is a free pattern that kind of talks you through socks if you've never made them before, which was me, and that is absolutely amazing. It's absolutely what I needed. Videos, descriptions, really, really excellent hand-holdy pattern. So if you're intimidated by knitting socks, which I was, and you want to get into it, then definitely give that pattern a try, and it's free, so there's nothing to lose. So they are a vanilla sock, I guess you would say, with a slip stitch, heel flap and gusset, heel construction, and then I believe this is a wedge toe. So I made mine using Filcolana Arwetta for the cuffs and the toes. I didn't do a contrast heel. I think this is in the colour Hibiscus, the bright pink, and then I'll just show you with one because it's easier. But for the main colour, again, you'll have heard me talk about this if you've watched other episodes, but this is a hand-dyed yarn, but hand-dyed by me, which is super exciting. And I dyed this at the Peak District Yarns workshop that I went to in, I want to say March, so it's quite a while ago now. And I created this by basically just throwing colour around to make this kind of rainbow sprinkles effect, which I just think is so gorgeous. So you can see that we've got blues and pinks and purples and oranges and greens, and yeah, they're just really, really fun. They fit pretty well. I made these using a 2.25mm needle. I knit the first one magic loop, and then I invested in a pair of fixed 9-inch Chalgu sock needles in the 2.25s, which I use for the second sock, but I don't think you can tell that they've been worked using different techniques. Yeah, I think they fit pretty well. I think it's tricky when these are my only pair. I would say over the, is it called the instep? I'll put some b-roll in of these on my feet, but over the instep or the top of the foot, they like stretch slightly. But I think you want to have a little bit of negative ease there, don't you? Because otherwise they'd be a bit baggy and like not look so good. The foot length is really good. The heel fit I think is great. I've not tried these in shoes yet because I wanted to keep them nice to show. And as you can see, they're not shorty, but they're certainly not full length, so I didn't knit there's not that much length in the leg, which is what I wanted. I maybe would even go slightly shorter. I wanted them to kind of be visible out of a trainer, but not be like up my leg, if that makes sense. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with the fit. Let me know what you think when you see them on my feet, because yeah, it's hard. I've only made these ones. I don't really have much to compare them to. Editing Lizzie here. I realise this is actually probably a terrible time to try and show you the fit of these socks because my feet are really swollen, but you can have a quick look. I don't think it's too bad, you know, especially when the old pregnancy swelling goes down a little bit. But yes, these are my first finished object. It actually used less than half of this sprinkle yarn, so I can definitely make another pair if that's what I want to do, and I think it is, but I'd probably pick out a different sprinkle colour in the contrast colour, so maybe like the orange or the green or even the blue, because that would give a bit of a different look, I think, if you didn't have the pink. So yes, that is my first finitoed objecto. That's my only finished object for me. The rest is baby things. I do have some whips that are for me, but the rest of the finished objects are baby things. So I have some finished objects that you have seen in partial in whip stage in the previous videos, and then I have some that you've not seen. So let's start with, there's two that you have seen and I think two that you haven't. So let's start with this one. So in one of my previous videos I was making a teddy bear sweater by Petite knit for little man, and I think I had got some decent progress when I showed you, and it's also featured in my things that I'm knitting for baby series of videos as well. But it's now finished, blocked, ends woven in. Speaking of ends, I am notoriously terrible for weaving in my ends, as I'm sure I'm not the only one. And I went to a knit group, in-person knit group, with my mum at Tangled Yarn in Poynton, was it last week? Yeah, last Wednesday, which is really lovely. Something I'd never be able to do in normal life because it was in the middle of the day, in the middle of the week, and yeah, it was really, really fun. And I thought, oh, what should I take? And then I knew I had a pile of recently completed baby garments that were finished, but the ends weren't woven in. So I thought, if I take these with me, there's good accountability here because there's people here I've not met before. And if I say that's what I'm going to do during this knit group, that's what I need to do. And it worked an absolute treat. It was great. Would highly recommend, because you want to chat when you're at things like this. I met some new people. Was chatting with my mum, obviously, but also Rachel, who owns Tangled Yarn, who is fantastic, by the way. Shout out to Rachel and Neve, her daughter. They work together to run a beautiful shop. But yeah, because I was chatting, I was like, I need something I'm not going to have to majorly concentrate on, and weaving in ends was perfect. So yeah, I took this and a couple of other bits and would highly, highly recommend. So here is the little finished. Oh, it just looks so cute. Let me see if I can hold it all up in the frame. Just the sleeves I'm struggling to hold up. There you go. I'll just show you closer up. Oh, hi Hugo. He's very interested in what's going on. Hello. Yes, let me show you this a bit closer up. You can see the details there. Little sleeve. So this was, I don't know why I'm holding it up on me. It's definitely not going to fit me. This is the teddy bear sweater by Petite knit. It is a top-down raglan sweater designed for babies and children, and the original sample is knit in, I want to say Sunday, some kind of merino, and it has a teddy bear face on it, which you'll notice is not present on here. I didn't think it needed it because I modified this because I was inspired by a beautiful example by a lovely knitter called Svenja Knits, who has also recently had a baby, and she had made a version of this using Bouclé yarn, and I just fell in love with it. So I kind of copied what she'd done using the Bouclé yarn. This is Drops Alpaca Bouclé, but the ribbing details I did in, this is Sandnesgarn Duo, which is a 50-50 merino cotton yarn, and I'm glad I did that because I think it gives it a bit of extra interest, but also just you keep that detailing there. I think some of the detail would have been lost if I'd done this in the Bouclé as well. So yeah, you can just about see the raglan construction with the eye of faith there. That's what it looks like at the back. It's just absolutely adorable. And so what I've ended up making is like a gorgeous little raglan sweater in Bouclé yarn that I think is just going to be beautiful. I'm pretty sure this is in the size, or I made the size 3 to 6 months, which I think is the smallest one. Petite Knit does have some baby designs, but this pattern is very much like 3 to 6 months and then upwards, I think, to about like 4 years or something. So it's not like a specifically baby design, but that's fine. I will basically try this on him until it fits. Obviously it's definitely not newborn, but I just think with some little leggings or under some dungarees, this is just going to be adorable. Had a great time knitting this. I'd never used Bouclé yarn before, so I was a bit wary of it and sort of had some other people's horror stories going through my mind. But do you know what? It was fine. I was just, obviously you have to be a bit on it when it comes to like the raglans, but otherwise it was absolutely fine. And I think the fabric it's knitted up to make is just absolutely gorgeous. It really didn't use much yarn at all. I think I used literally just over 1 ball of the Bouclé yarn, which means I've got loads left. So I might save that to make him a bigger size. That's probably what I'll do in theory. I think it would make a really cute like romper or pram suit, but I've actually got quite a lot of those now, so I'll see. Basically there's no rush because this isn't going to fit him for at least another, 3 months or so, but I think it would be quite cute oversized anyway. So yeah, so that's my teddy bear sweater or Bamse sweater by Petite Knit, knit up in this Bouclé yarn. So that's one whip that you'd seen before. The other is this. Now I'm really going to struggle to show this if I struggle to show the other, that little jumper. Ta-da! So you will remember this if you've seen any of my other videos. I literally finished this morning. Like I finished the knitting yesterday and then I blocked it and let it dry on my heated air overnight because I really wanted to be able to show it today. This is the, let me try and get this right, Pastel Rainbow Baby Blanket by Stitchylinda Designs, and this was also a free pattern, so that's the socks and this that were a free pattern, and it's just stunning. I started this quite some time ago and it's just been really nice to just come back to it as and when I fancy a bit of blanket knitting. It's this beautiful feather and fan design. which has kept things really interesting and also makes for these really cool wavy sections of garter stitch which intersect the colourful sections. And I am so happy to have this finished before he's born, because if I try and hold it up like that, it's not enormous. Oh, sorry, Hugo. I just sat on his tail. So I think it'll be a good size to go like over the car seat, or maybe in the next to me crib while he's really, really tiny and, you know, not quite big enough for the sleeping bags. Or honestly, the baby sleeping admin is wild. I haven't even actually done it yet. It's all just theoretical at this moment in time. But let's talk about the yarn. So this yarn was gifted to me by Modat Rowan. They asked me if I wanted to try their new summer yarn, their cotton DK, and I said yes please, and they sent me these beautiful colours, one little ball of each, and it has just done perfectly for this blanket. We are having a boy, but I think these colours are pretty gender neutral. There were a couple of pinks which I chose not to put into the blanket. And then there was, see, the white colour for the garter, I think they called that macaroon, and there was like a brilliant white as well, so I didn't use that. And I actually had to shout out to Laura Penrose, my lovely friend, who was also sent this yarn by Rowan, and she had some leftover of the macaroon because that is the only one I ran out of, which makes sense because I was using it in between each colour. So I think she sent me another like ball and a third, and I basically haven't used the full extra ball she sent me, just needed like the third on top of the ball I already had. But the other colours, I've done 2 repeats of all 6 colours, and I haven't weighed them, but there's definitely a decent amount of each left. For example, this is one of the blues, and all that is left. So I definitely could have done a third repeat. Not that I wanted to, because it's not a square, but it would have made it like a bit of a funny shape. This is a good shape. But yeah, so we have this beautiful like springy green. Hugo, please don't eat it. No. It's not even got any ends. I don't know why he wants to eat it. Yeah, springy green, lovely sort of bright blue, this kind of neutral beigey taupey colour, navy, grey, and then this more dusty blue, and then I just repeated all of them again. I made this on 4.5mm no, 4mm needles. I think the pattern calls for 4.5, but it was too drapey. I guess because I was making it in like 100% cotton, so I went down a needle size, which I'm really happy with. I love the, it's obviously clearly like super drapey still, but enough. And the only modification I made was to these, the kind of the border in the pattern. I think it's all, is it all garter like that? And I just changed it to have like, instead of a pearl row here, which would have been garter, just to do like a pearl bump with the pattern repeat. Can't really remember why I chose to do that, but I think it looks nice. So yeah, really, really, really happy with that. And seeing as things could kick off at any moment, we do need to put the car seat into the car. I am super happy to have this done. It's going to come with us to the hospital, and it'll just be amazing to like have our little baby. I mean, obviously he's got other stuff that I've made him, but you know, in the very early days, I think we will be able to use this for him, which is absolutely lovely. So that is a rainbow pastel baby blanket by Stitchylinda Designs. I will link all the patterns in the description as always. But yeah, really highly recommend this. Pattern would be a lovely gift knit, or if you are, do you know what, not even for a baby, it's just a really cool pattern, and you could definitely make it a bit bigger if you wanted to. Obviously blankets, you can just do whatever you want. You just need to make sure that you did your stitch pattern repeats calculations properly. Right, so the next finished object for baby boy I'm going to show you, you haven't seen at all. So that means I must have planned it, started it, finished it since we had a chat, which is efficient from me. I did talk about, however, in one of my last videos, the fact that I was sent some yarn to try by Knit Picks. They sent me a few different yarns which I showed, so if you're interested, have a look. I think it was the podcast before the last one, the one with the blanket as the thumbnail. So they sent me I think about 4 different yarns to try, including the one that I've made this little project in. So they sent me some of their Woollen cotton, which is 50-50 blend of wool and cotton, as it says on the tin, and they sent it to me in the colour Wishing Well Heather, which is, as you'll see, very, very gorgeous. And they sent me one skein, and it's DK weight, and I was having a look at patterns, so I decided to make these. Aren't they adorable? Oh my goodness. Every time I hold up a project for baby boy, I'm like, oh wow. So these are little trousers with a little I-cord tie, and little turn-ups, and I hope you can see there. I think the camera is definitely blowing this yarn out a little bit, but this is the colour Wishing Well Heather. It's like this very rich blue, not quite a navy, but definitely with some variation. Yeah, it's blowing out a touch there. That's probably accurate. And then I did the turn-ups and the little I-cord with just some scrap yarn that I had. This is Lana Gatto VIP in this kind of baby blue colour. So these are the Elisenberg Trousers by, I never know what she goes by, Indeblomst, but also I'm sure she goes by something else on Instagram, Guri Pedersen. So they are the same person. I guess one is maybe the designer's name and one is maybe the like kind of brand name, if that makes sense. But I have made a couple of other things by this designer. She has some gorgeous, gorgeous baby knits. So if you're in the market for some baby patterns, then do go and check her out. But yeah, I just thought these were absolutely gorgeous. And yeah, took I think almost every scrap of that Knit Picks woolen cotton that I had, and the fabric that they have created post blocking is just absolutely gorgeous. It's really, really soft, and I kind of like the fact that it's the wool and the cotton. I feel like these should hold up pretty well, be like nice and comfy for him, and I wonder if they might grow with him a little bit, just with the fact that it's 50% cotton. The construction is adorable. So you start at the little waistband, you fold it over, and then you do short rows in the kind of back bum area to make space for nappies and big nappy bum, which is so cute. So yeah, the back is slightly higher than the front, and then yeah, you work down in the round, make the sort of gusset area, and then I think in the pattern pictures on Ravelry, it's not actually, doesn't have these turn-ups, but I added them because I was playing definitely a little bit of yarn chicken. I was off gauge when I made these because the woolen cotton was a little bit thicker. Well, I say the recommended yarn was Lana Como, which is quite a difficult yarn to try and match because it's like super lightweight. So the yardage and meterage is a little bit difficult to get your head around. So I just started knitting with these till I was happy with the fabric and then worked out what kind of size I was making. I reckon I've ended up making like a sort of 3 to 6 month type size, but again, I'll just try these on him and he can wear them when they fit. So yeah, I think that's everything I wanted to say about these. My camera is overheating. I think that's what that means, so let me just let it chill out for a sec. Okay, so the last finished object that I have to show you is also for a little man, and you also didn't see it before. This is the Storm Sweater, like baby edition by Petite Knit. Oh, wow, that is kind of blowing out on camera, but you get the picture. It's very bright. Very bright. So this is a little drop shoulder all over textured sweater, which is knit in fingering weight. I think Petite Knit recommends Sunday, which is what I've used. So I have used that orange feeling, which I actually had left over from a project I made for a friend's baby. Oh, there's a little pole there. That's a shame. I suspect that's a cat. Never mind. I'll just show you the other sleeve. There you go. There's the neckline. Ribbing. Yeah, it's very cute. That is the back. So I knit this while we were on holiday. We went away to Cyprus in the middle of June, which was amazing. It was like a little getaway before baby boy comes, but my word, it was hot. So we didn't kind of do as many like out and about activities as we were planning. We kind of sat by the pool most days, which was excellent. And because this is so tiny and in fingering weight, it was okay to knit in the heat because there was no like wool on my lap or any of those other things that are kind of difficult. So yeah, I absolutely loved making this. I was playing quite serious yarn chicken, so I wish I'd written down some notes, but I think I may have reduced the length by a pattern, by a section of texture, possibly. And then I was very cautious when I was doing all the finishings. So all the finishings are 1 by 1 rib, but for example, I didn't do like a double folded collar. I just did a single like collar and then did an Italian bind off, and then obviously that matches the sleeves. But the little texture sections are so cute. So there's like this crisscrossy one, there's this sort of broken ribby one, then there's the scattered pearls one, which is the same as here, and there's the diagonal stripy one, and yeah, it's just beautiful. I think it's just stunning. You can see texture on the back there. There is an adult matching pattern for this, which I definitely see in my future. I don't think in this colour. Yeah, I think this colour might be a little bit much for me with the old redheadedness. But yeah, I would love to make an adult matchy version. Maybe in like a neutral or a grey, something that will show off this stitch pattern. But yes, that is my last finished object for little man. It's the Storm Sweater baby, and yeah, I just think it's completely adorable. That is made in Sandnes Sunday, that orange feeling, and the pattern is by Petite Knit. So let's crack on because my camera is struggling slightly. I think I forgot to charge it before I started filming, so I'm trying to charge it at the same time as film. I think it's getting a bit overheated, stressed out, which is how I felt last week when it was still really, really warm. So let's move on to works in progress, shall we? So I do have a couple for me and I have a couple for baby boy. Let's give baby boy a break and let's talk about some of the whips that I have for myself. So I have sock, because I'm a sock knitter now, and a sweater. Yeah, let me show you the sock first. So it's in my little pouch that I got from when we went on holiday to Mauritius on our honeymoon. So this is a sock pattern by Florence Miller. My brain, I need to I literally watched a podcast this morning, those twins who knit, and one of them, I think it was Jessica, has made the exact same sock, Petal drop socks, there we go, by Florence Miller, or handmade by Florence as she goes as. And this is what I have so far. They are stunning. Obviously they are lace, so this is super bunched up, but when they're like blocked, they will kind of, the lace will open up and it'll look a lot like this. So I have just reached the heel flap for the first sock. I tried to match the length-ish to these ones. She says, yeah, I made them slightly shorter, but used them as a reference. The cuff was interesting. So in Florence's pattern, she recommends twisted rib. I didn't think I was a huge fan of twisted rib, so I did half twisted rib, but tried to make my knits look neater than they sometimes do. So I twisted my pearls. So I've actually ended up with like half twisted rib with the pearls, twisted pearls on the inside, which looks kind of sweet actually. Maybe I'll try that intentionally on the outside for a different sock another time. But anyway, that's what I've done on my cuff. And yeah, I'm working the heel flap, and then you actually only continue the lace pattern on the over the like front of the sock, not the underside of the foot. The underside of the foot just is worked in stockinette. So not that this was difficult, it was really fun, it was quite engaging, but I'm kind of glad you only have to do it on half the sock going forward, if that makes sense. So yeah, this will be my second adult pair of socks. I did make a friend's baby a pair of socks that I gave to her this week, so I'm counting them. So this will be my third pair towards my 16 pair target that my husband has arbitrarily set me. In terms of the yarn, this is what I'm using. It's yarn for socks from Sandnesgarn, which is a I think it's a Danish shop run by two sisters, and they've kind of expanded quite a lot. They're now in the UK and other European countries, and they're not like a craft shop, but they have craft sections. I'd say otherwise they're like a really beautiful like homeware shop, and this is like some sock. They have yarn sometimes, and this was a sock yarn I found, and I think it's quite standard 75% wool, 25% nylon blend, but it's quite it's more rusticy feeling than these. This is a superwash merino nylon, and I'm assuming this is a non-superwash because it feels more like that. So yeah, it's a really, I love this like taupey colour. I think I'd love actually to have a sweater or a garment in this colour. That would be really nice. And then in terms of needles, I'm making, again, on a 2.25, which is the recommended needle size. These are my little tiny 9-inch chalgies that I bought. I worked the leg on these. I've only split because I'm working the heel flap back and forth, so I've left the foot stitches on the chalgy needle, and then I'm working the heel flap on just a long needle that I used for magic loop before I bought the chalgy ones. So yeah, I kind of stalled on these a little bit, but I think I've said before, I think when baby boy is here, socks will be a good project for me because I can take them out and about if he's napping in the pram, or even like if he's napping at home. So I'm hoping, I had like a bit of an itch after I'd done these vanilla socks to do a textured sock, but obviously itch has now been scratched. I think maybe some ribbed socks might be next in my sock plans, but yeah, who knows. So yeah, not loads of progress on these, but I think they are absolutely beautiful. Oh, and this pattern handmade by Florence, or Florence Miller, she basically operates on like a pay what you want to pay thing. So you can pay full price, you can pay half price, or you can get it for free, which I think is a really interesting way of doing things and very inclusive. So that is those. My second whip that is for me is a bit of a beast and I cast it on maybe only last week because I suddenly got the urge to think about like my size autumnal knits, and I can tell you why actually. It was totally inspired by the yarn. I said I'd been on a bit of a vintage yarn spree, and basically this is one of the acquisitions that came from said spree. Now I'm not going to like talk to you about the others because there's quite a lot, and like I said, I might make another video on it, but this one is special. When I finished work to start maternity leave, I said to myself that I was going to treat myself to two things. One, a new pair of slippers, which I have done, and two, like a garment quantity of like some really like special yarn. I don't tend to buy like that. I mean, all yarn is like special because, you know, of what it is, or the intended purpose was, or where you got it, or the hand dyed, or, you know, there's lots of different reasons why yarn might be special. But I suppose when I say special, I mean like maybe like a luxury yarn. I've never really done that. I've never really treated myself to anything that might be termed like luxurious. Obviously that is interpreted as per different people's budgets, but for me, I was thinking along the lines of maybe some Cardiff cashmere, which I've never worked with, or, you know, something along those lines, like not your everyday purchase. And then I was debating, because it's quite expensive, like 25 grams, it's about £15, and I think I would have done it if I'd found the right pattern and found the yarn in the right colour and like everything had aligned. And then when I was trawling Vinted, I found an absolute gem. So I had heard of this yarn before, but I've never seen it, never worked with it. But I managed to find some of this. So this is Opus by Woolcut Yarns, and my word, it is stunning. It feels like there's cashmere in here. There isn't. There's 70% Argentinian merino, 30% baby alpaca, 100% awesome, says the label, which is pretty funny. And it's in this beautiful grey colour. And I think this retails for, I want to say like £24, £25 a skein. In 100 grams, you do get, it's sport weight, so you get 350 meters, so 175 per 50 grams. So that runs the same as something like Filcolana Panilla, for example. But yeah, it feels like there's cashmere in here. It's gorgeous. The trade-off is that this probably will pill, but... So like I said, this retails for about, I think about £24 a skein. I managed to get 4 skeins of this, so approximately, what's that? I think it worked out about 1400 meters of sport weight yarn. So definitely enough for a garment for £11 a skein. How amazing is that? Less than half price on Vinted. I just made an offer and they accepted it, and I was like, whoa. So someone just was destashing this, which is insane. So I think they'd used, so the 4 skeins, they'd used like 10 grams of one of them. So I technically got like 390 grams instead of the 400 grams, but amazing. So obviously I was like, right, what can I make with this? So I was looking at sport weight patterns, and there are things like the Cardiff cashmere patterns, for example, a couple of petite knit patterns like the Poppy Tea and the Maggie cardigan were contenders. But then I saw a sweater pattern which I have had my eye on for ages, and that is the Chantal Sweater by Moroccan Knits. Now, I have started and stalled on a Moroccan Knits pattern, the pull cardigan, which I'm not going to talk about today because I looked back and I've made no progress whatsoever since last time I talked about it. But that is nothing to do with the pattern. I think it's more to do with my yarn choice and the fact that it's a cardigan, so there's lots of purling involved. But I'll get there. It'll be a good maternity leave, bit by bit, day by day. We'll get there. But yeah, the Chantal Sweater is an all over slip stitch sweater pattern. A little bit, essentially like on the, I don't know why I'm showing you on a sock because I have the sweater like next to me, but this kind of thing. The slip stitch that you get on socks that use that technique. And I've been intrigued by it for ages. The yarn that the designer uses is a combination of Gepard Wild and Soft, which is a beautiful yarn, got a lot of silk in it, and then holding that with a lace weight mohair, which they say makes a sport weight yarn. So I was like, great. So that's how I chose it, really. And the yardage looks okay. Might have to watch my length and things like that. But anyway, this is it skeined up. The wool cut. Hello. Hi. Hugo's back, everyone. Yep, gorge. And so this is what we have. So we're a little bit of the jellyfish stage of things, but I'm working on the collar, and there are 12 million ends because this is a saddle shoulder constructed garment, which means there are loads of ends. Hugo, you're not actually helping right now. Right, let me see if I can hold this up to show you. This is what I have so far. Ta-da! Right, and we have a cat trying to eat the ends. So yeah, it is really tricky to show you, but I shall do my best. So this is the saddle shoulder construction. One shoulder, 2 shoulders, you can see there. So you start with those, and then you knit down these front panels, working increases around what will become the neckline. And I've just started picking up some neck stitches because other than the neckline, everything you can see here just took 1 skein, actually the one that was 10 grams short. So I'm hoping that that is a good sign about my yardage, because I have actually joined in the round and done like that much in the round at the underarms. But yeah, then you don't start with the back as you do often in these types of constructions. Well, I say these types, I've not done a saddle shoulder a lot, but you do shoulder, shoulder, front, and then you act like cast on all these stitches at the back, which was a bit delicate, but we have managed. Now I have steam blocked this just to try and make sure I was happy with the texture and the gauge, but so you can see this is the fabric that we are getting. So you can see that slip stitch texture there. It's very stretchy. So I think it probably will change a little bit more as we go on and there's more weight behind the body. But yeah, it's absolutely beautiful, and very excited to continue with it. So in terms of the pattern, so I have never designed in a saddle shoulder, and the only one I have made or like have done any kind of knitting with is the Paul cardigan, which I haven't finished, as I said. So this is all pretty new to me. So I am like in awe, hats off to like the design process, the grading, and I really enjoyed it's been a real challenge because the stitch pattern is not something I've used much before. The construction is something that's not new, that is new to me, sorry. So I've really enjoyed the challenge of this. Gauge was difficult to obtain. In the pattern you basically knit the slip stitch texture like 3 different ways. So sometimes you're working that pattern with the working the slip stitches on the right side flat, sometimes you're doing it on the wrong side flat, and then from the underarms down, and for the sleeves you're doing it in the round. So quite a lot of people on Ravelry said they've struggled to match their gauge when they're working the pattern in the different kind of ways that the stitch pattern in the different ways that you need to within the pattern, if that makes sense. I think the steam blocking has helped. I think you can see a bit of a difference. For example, I don't know if it's going to show up on camera, and I'm not bothered by this because I think it's very subtle, but right at the top there, I was working in short rows for the short rows here, and then they kind of finish down here. So I think possibly the stitch pattern looks a bit different up here to how it does here. It just looks a bit flatter, and then kind of beyond this sort of line here, the stitches are a bit like plumper. I don't know. It's on the back, it's going to get blocked again. I think it's less obvious after the steam block, so I'm really not like that bothered by it. But yeah, that has been tricky. It's the pattern's written for 4.5mm needles. I'm working, because when it was mainly flat, I'm knitting on a which way around is it? My pearls are looser than my knits, so I'm knitting on a 4mm, a 4.5mm, and purling on a 4mm. And then now I'm working in the round, I'm just doing it on the 4.5mm because I meant to gauge that way. But yeah, I guess the original yarn combination that has a strand of lace weight mohair probably helps hide those gauge discrepancies a little bit. So I am a little bit exposed here because I don't have the fluff to kind of you know, blur those little imperfections, but I think it's going to work out absolutely fine. The only other thing, there's just a couple of things that I've chosen not to do the way the designer said. Like, for example, picking up the neckline involved 2 needles, and keeping all the stitches along the pickup like on hold on a cable, whereas as far as I could see reading forwards, it's like worked in 2x2 rib, and then you like do some double knitting, work a double folded collar, and then either knit down or sew down your like edge to the picked up stitches. And that's something I've done a lot before on a lot of different garments, so I didn't really see the need to keep all these stitches like live on a different cable. Maybe I'll come to regret it, but I couldn't work out why that was necessary. And also on the back, she wanted you to keep working in, when you were working short rows, you were kind of working one side back to the middle, other side back to the middle. She wanted you to keep doing that further down the back, but I thought that would just exaggerate any gauge discrepancies. So I cut my yarn after the short rows and then just worked the whole back panel flat, back and forth, just how I did for the front. So hopefully that's made things a little bit more consistent, but otherwise really enjoyed working on this. So because I started a new skein, I've picked up the collar, and then once I've done the collar, I shall continue with the body for a little bit, I think, kind of get a feel for my yarn consumption. Like I said, I've basically got 3 skeins left, so I think I will be fine. And then have a go on the sleeves. So yeah, this is WIP for me, Chantal Sweater by American Knit. I am making a size medium because I was a bit nervous about my gauge being too tight, and also pre-baby I was in her small category, but I don't want this to be tight. I want to be able to wear it. I'm very happy if it's a bit more oversized than she designed it for, and yeah, I just want something that's gonna fit my postpartum body and be comfortable and snuggly. So yeah, shall keep you posted on this progress. So the last work in progress that I have to show you is for baby boy. He's just got one, and it is this little guy. It's on my needles at the minute, so it's just sitting a bit strangely. But this is the Mountain Rompersuit by Mimi Knitting, and this is the back. And yeah, it's this all over textured little romper suit, which has a raglan yoke construction, this little 1x1 collar, sorry my needles are clinking against the tripod, and this little double knit detail before you go into the main stitch pattern, which is this zigzag just made up of knits and purls, which is really effective, if not initially quite tricky to get my head round. The yoke was all charted, and then once you get into the body, the pattern kind of gives you instructions as to how to read your knitting, so that you can continue the pattern, but the charts stop, which to start with I found a bit tricky, but actually after a good brain workout it's fine. You just have to be kind of concentrating when you're knitting on this. So you can see there I have a little sleeve and then that much of the body. I haven't worked on this for a little while, so I can't remember exactly how much I've got left before you basically join these 2 bits up, because there will be a button band down the front, which will kind of sit here, and then you'll get your 2 little legs, and then that will be that. So I've definitely done the bulk of it. I just think the stitch pattern's really cool. I didn't realise when I started this, which again has made it more involved, that the raglans are cabled, and actually the cable continues down under the, move that tubing, the cable continues down under the arm. So yeah, it's a lot of thinking and knitting in this piece. It's definitely not one for chatting or watching TV, but I think it will be absolutely gorgeous when it is done. I think I'm definitely making this for winter, so 3 to 6 months, or maybe 6 months, I can't quite remember off the top of my head. I am using this guy, so I'm using Alpaca Wool by Sandnesgarn, and I think this colourway is called Jolly Blue. I got this from Simona at Knit Yarns the first time I ever went and saw her shop in person, and she actually wouldn't let me pay for this, so I guess this is gifted. So thank you, Simona. I've had this in stash for a good couple of years now, so I'm really glad to be using some of it. And although this is a tiny garment, it's quite yarn hungry because of the pattern and the cables, etc. So I should get a decent amount of it out of stash, and then I'm thinking I might make like a slip over or something for me with the rest of it. So yeah, that's my last little whip. What size needles am I using for this? 4. Classic. This yarn is like a heavy DK, I would say. Yeah, 50 grams is 100 meters. So just on that cusp of DK to worsted, kind of similar to like a Peruvian Highland wool. So I'm going to move swiftly on because my camera is struggling, as I've mentioned. I was going to show you things that people have knit for baby boy, but I have one thing to quickly show you, which is like a plan that I'm going to cast on very, very, very soon. Speaking of Peruvian Highland wool, this is a gift knit, so if you are my mum, stop watching now and join back in maybe 5 minutes. My mum is an avid knitter, and she is having a big birthday in January. I won't say exactly how many years, but it ends with a 0. And I want to make her something. I think she'll really appreciate it. And as you'll know if you've watched a few of my videos before, I have made zipper sweaters for the other members of my family. So my dad has one, my brother has one, I made one for me, and the only person who doesn't have one is my mum. So obviously she needs to join the club. So I'm going to make her a zipper sweater light for her big birthday. And I was umming and ahhing about what kind of colour she'd like. And I've gone bold, a bit like that blue. Whoa. Told you it was bold. This is a pink, pink, pink. It's like verging on coral, I would say. It's looking even more orangey coral on camera, but this is the swatch I have made. It's beautiful, isn't it? I was just using a couple of different needle sizes to get a gauge. The zipper sweater light, if you don't know, is a pattern by Petite. It's a top-down raglan, kind of oversized stockinette garment with a big, cosy, ribbed neck and a zipper. And these are the 2 yarns I've decided to use for her. So this is Peruvian Highland wool, and this by Filcolana, and this is Filcolana Tilia. So I'm going to hold these together. The zipper sweater light is a DK weight pattern. I think it's about a 20 stitch gauge, which I should be able to achieve with these 2. If I used a bigger needle size, I'd probably, I think Filcolana Peruvian and mohair is actually recommended in the original zipper sweater, which is like more of a worsted weight, but that's not what I'm getting in my swatch. So I think we're going to stick with the zipper sweater light. I don't have it with me, but I did buy like a pink, one of the Petite knit zippers in pink, And yeah, I'm super excited to get started on that. Like I said, her birthday is early January, so kind of need to crack on actually. I might try and cast that on before little man arrives, because it will certainly be easier to I remember the collar starts with like Judy's Magic cast on, which will be much easier when it's just me and not trying to juggle him and his needs as well. But yeah, I just thought I'd show you this swatch because it is absolutely wild, and I think she will absolutely love it. When, I mean, it would look not great on me, but when it's knit up into a beautiful big squishy fluffy zipper sweater, I think that's going to be absolutely incredible. So yes, that is an acquisition that I wanted to show you guys. Okay, so I'm just going to finish by showing you the really beautiful things that people have made for baby boy. I'll just go through them quite quickly. So the first few have been made by my mum. So this is the first thing that she's made for him. A little sweater. This is the Adam Stewart sweater by, I just had it ready, I think it's Guri Pedersen again. Yes, it is. And she made this in the yarn that she hand dyed when we went to Peak District Yarns on the course where I dyed these socks. So this is a DK weight pattern, so her yarn is DK weight, mine was fingering, but yeah, this is the gorgeous colourway that she went for. And this little pattern has kind of got 2x2 broken rib on the front and the back, and then stockinette sleeves. She said she was a bit off gauge, so we're not quite sure when this will fit, but I reckon it could even be like 9 to 12 months maybe. But again, we just wait and see when it fits him, and I think oversize is really cute on littles as well. So that is that one. She also has made him, this is adorable, a Selma sleep suit by Petite Knit, which is here, which is just unbelievably adorable. So this has been knit, this is an all over garter stitch pattern, and it's got these little envelope openings for the hands and the feet, so you can just tuck them in or have them open. It's got this little hood which is just adorable, and she used these gorgeous little buttons which we bought when we were at the Tangled Yarn knit group the other day, and this has been knit in Drops Air, which is a blown yarn and just makes this like the fluffiest little guy ever. So he is going to be so cozy in this. I think we'll end up using this as like more of a pram suit than a sleep suit, because I imagine it will get pretty toasty in this. But yeah, so when he's ready to go out and about in the pram, being all bundled up in this is going to be amazing. Like honestly, is it weird to be jealous of your baby? Because can you imagine wearing this as an adult? Oh, just gorgeous. So yes, I'm just blown away. She's done such a great job. And then the last thing she has made for him is this blanket, and this is the Paul's blanket in pearl rib, and it's a Sandnesgarn pattern, and my lovely friend Caroline made this for her baby, which is where we got the inspiration from. And it's essentially, I'm not gonna be able to hold the whole thing up, but it's a broken rib blanket. My face is massive, sorry. Broken rib texture, and we decided on these beautiful colours which will match the nursery vibes. So the main colour is this like greyish colour, and then we've got like an olive green stripe like a sagey green stripe that then repeat. I'm pretty sure she used drops. I think it was the merino extra fine. I don't think it was the baby merino to make this. So this is quite a bit bigger than the blanket I have made for him. So I think this will probably go in the nursery to kind of have over us when we're feeding maybe, or I don't know, endless uses. But the good news is that it's machine washable, so any accidents will be repairable. But yeah, that's this, and it's absolutely gorge. She also brought this for me. Now, she didn't make this, but this was a blanket that somebody, a family friend, made for me when I was a baby, so like 30 odd years ago. And I'll just show you briefly because I just can't get over how stunning this is. Look at that lace edging. It's just gorgeous, and I cannot imagine how much effort went into making this back in the day. I don't know what it's made from. It looks like some kind of fingering weight acrylic yarn, I would say, if I was guessing. But the details on it are just amazing. Like, it's just gorgeous lace, and it's massive. Like, I can't even demonstrate how big that is. So the time that this would have taken somebody all those years ago. So she kept it and brought it up and said if I wanted it we could have it. So yeah, I think having something that was made for me is really special. And you know, yeah, it's not something that I would make now, but the craftsmanship and the workmanship in it is just amazing. And I think a knitted blanket is such a handy thing to have for babies, so they can have it over them. It's nice and safe. Obviously all the air gets through all the gaps, so you know, again, for car seat or just going out in the pram or just having another little layer. Okay, and then the very last thing I have to show you is this. Oh, look at this. This is a sweater knitted by my lovely friend Mum Taz. I will link her Instagram down below, but we did our GP training together and I taught her to knit when we were deep in the realms of exam stress, when we're just trying to do our final GP exams. So this is really special, not only because it's absolutely beautiful, but she's knit something for my baby and I taught her how to actually knit, which is wild. This is the Matisse sweater by OGE Knitwear Designs, and I believe she has used, the grey is definitely Peer Gynt, because it's left over from a jumper she was making for somebody else, one of the tweedy colours. And then I'm not too sure what the yellow is. I think again it's left over from something she was making for one of her own children. But it's just so neat. It's colour work, which I have never attempted and don't plan to anytime soon because it intimidates me so much. And yeah, it's just absolutely stunning. So this is pretty diddy, so I reckon this will fit quite early doors. But yeah, just so kind. So I've just been blown away by people being so generous with their time and their skill. So thank you to my mum, and also thank you to Mum Taz, who I know will be watching this video. So I'm going to wrap things up here. I feel like this has been a long one. There was a lot more to talk about than I realised. And I've really enjoyed getting back in the swing of things with chatting on camera. So I will see you in the next video. I don't quite know when that's going to be. It depends what little man decides to do or not to do. I might try and pre-record some content now things have calmed down a bit in terms of the organising. I might not. I'm just going to go with the flow and see how I feel. So if you don't hear from me for a while, it might be because my baby has decided to arrive. But yeah, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been really fun. I hope you've enjoyed watching what I've been up to, and yeah, take care, happy knitting, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.